If this year will be a test on what the multilateral system can deliver, then one of the most defining moments will be the Financing for Development Conference in July. This is the UN conference where governments will come together and negotiate how the international systems of finance can underpin the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Leading that process is the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, DESA. It's therefore a great honor to welcome Navid Hanif, the Assistant Secretary General at the United Nations for Economic Development at DESA. His talk is titled Financing Trust, Tackling the Deficit of Global Cooperation in Sustainable Development. Welcome, Assistant Secretary General Navid Hanif.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your presence today. Thank you to Norad for giving me the opportunity to be part of Norad 2025. It's certainly an honor to join you. But before I come to the issue of financing for development, let me convey United Nations' sincere gratitude to the government of Norway and the people of Norway for their unwavering commitment to multilateralism, their unshakable faith in the United Nations, and NORAD's invaluable support to the work of the UN in the area of development. Norway remains a ray of hope for the United Nations in these testing times. Money Talks is a very interesting title. It reminded me of Mark Twain's famous quote, "The lack of money is the source of all evil." But I'm not here to talk about money. I want to talk about financing, which is much larger than money. And you come to Oslo, you don't talk about Nobel Prize, that's also ignoring a major fact. So Robert Schiller, one of the Nobel laureates, very thoughtfully captured the link between money and finance. Finance is not merely about making money. It is about achieving our deep goals and protecting the fruits of our labor. These are his words. And the deep goals of humanity are enshrined in the Sustainable Development Goals in the 2030 Agenda, and its financing in the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. Unfortunately, and this has been the burden of song since morning, we have fallen woefully short in the realization of these agendas that are critical for securing a prosperous future for all on a secure planet. So the money is not talking to the promise of leaving no one behind. And lack of progress on this promise is one of the key sources of growing trust deficit within and among countries. Only 44% of people trust their national governments. There is also a global trend where social trust within nations has significantly dropped in recent decades. And the global trust deficit is very stark when it comes to climate change. Developing countries are bearing the brunt of the climate crisis without sufficient financial support to mitigate its effects. And that was made abundantly clear by V20 and many other presenters today. But Pope Francis captured it very well when he said, "The trust of people in the global economy has been eroded by an unjust system of finance and commerce that has turned the common good into a commodity. This is why we must build a new economy, one that restores trust through ethical investments, solidarity, and focus on human well-being. And let's not forget, 10 years ago, that was the primary objective of Agenda 2030, to revamp our economy, to make sure everyone is included in prosperity. But our actions on finance are still embedded in institutions, markets, regulations, processes, and agreements that either perpetuate existing equities or at best tinker on the margins. This must change. And for that change to happen, Agenda 2030 should become a central objective of financial decisions all over the world, be in the public sector or the private sector. It is a manifesto for structural transformation to fight inequality, combat climate change, achieve gender equality, and eradicate poverty and hunger and disease from the face of this earth. That is how we will rebuild trust within and among societies. Fourth Conference on Financing for Development provides a golden opportunity to do that. And let me commend Norway for its leadership as a co-facilitator in drafting the zero draft that was issued 10 days ago. I will not go that the draft has named this period as a period of sustainable development crises, because all of those factors have been mentioned. Weak growth, exposure to climate change, debt distress, and lack of investment. Let me move to the solutions. The clock is ticking faster than I expected. 5 actions have to happen at FFD4 if we want to restore trust in multilateralism. First and foremost, we must catalyze SDG investment push through reforms at both national and global levels to expand fiscal space and lower the cost of capital. At the national level, budgets should be aligned with the SDGs. Governments should commit to transparency and accountability to restore the trust of people in their actions, in their promises, in their policies. Countries must expand fiscal space by better raising and using resources domestically. Some immediate gains can be made in reducing tax avoidance and evasion. We must grow the size and effectiveness of our public development banking system. We know that the balance sheets of multilateral banks can be used more creatively, and they can also grow in size. That option should not be off the table. In a time of reluctance to spend taxpayers' dollars on capitalizing development finance institutions, repeatedly mentioned proposal, rechanneling of SDRs is a ready-made solution available to many developed countries. Or you can also consider issuing new SDRs, whatever works politically. The investment push will also need to use private capital more strategically and ensure that private investment has more impact. Let me also clarify with my own experience, private investment will not align with public goals on its own. The public sector must lead by setting incentives to ensure investment in sustainable happens at speed and at scale. Second, addressing crushing debt burdens that are forcing countries to divert resources from SDGs. We need 3 actions on debt. Prevention of debt crisis is critical, and we must do more on debt transparency and adherence to principle of sustainable borrowing and lending. Second, we must systematically support countries with liquidity challenges. Enhanced liquidity support should be complemented by new institutional arrangements. Third, we must deliver faster and deeper treatments for countries that need to restructure, building on the progress made on the common framework. Third action is FFD4 must deliver reforms that recognize the primacy of public policy and public action to achieve sustainable development. This is the rectification we need to make to Addis Ababa Action Agenda. Public policy is central to moving the money. Fourth, strengthening international development cooperation. Focusing only on leveraging MDB balance sheets will not deliver the type of financing all developing countries need. Access to and quality of concessional and grant financing must be enhanced. We should re-energize our work on the development effectiveness and impact agenda. Finally, and most importantly, FFD4 should have a breakthrough on reforming the international financial architecture. It could conclude few actions, but it could also initiate actions in that direction. That includes improving global economic governance, making international tax cooperation fully inclusive and more equitable, reshaping the sovereign debt architecture, and aligning markets with sustainable development. The Pact for the Future has already identified some of those areas ripe for action. Friends, colleagues, we know the challenges and we have the solutions. It is the lack of action that has created the trust deficit. It is high time that we act to ensure that our common humanity prevails over individualism. It is time to ensure that solidarity and self-interest converge to restore trust. Together, let's make FFD4 outcome a milestone in our efforts to restore trust in our shared future, built around prosperity for all on a secure planet. Let's rekindle hope in multilateralism, and let's make the United Nations great again. Thank you so much.